John, you'll need to post your hello message in chat again after most of the people join, because I think they don't see chat unless they're already in the meeting. Cool. Okay.
Okay, Bob, so you're now live and I made you host.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome everyone to get set up. And this is a class on all about web browsers. So we'll give people a minute to get started in here. We'll let them in and admit everyone. So here we go. Oh, I recognize Thomas's icon there. So I'm seeing some people that look familiar. I'm doing a class at 4:30 today that is about live or retire abroad. Is it right for you? But it kind of conflicts. At 5 o'clock, there's a Rick Steves special broadcast session that some people might be catching. So it's a small group. So that's kind of good sometimes to have a small group. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good to see you, Mercy and Daria and Lisa.
Sandra.
Thomas. Oh boy, I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces. Okay. It's great. It's great. So have you had enough classes today? Everyone who's taken, who's got, I want to find out who's taken more than 5 today. Anybody? Okay, good. Who's taken 4? Anybody taken 4? How about 3? You know, we have 3. Okay. Okay. 3. Good. 2. A couple of you, I know this is your second class because I saw you and this might be your first class too. So we'll give people a minute or two to join in to get into the meeting here. Let me try and get my participant window opening up here. There we go. Okay. Great, great. All right. So this is, I think this is the only class we're doing right now about web browsers. So I don't know if you've ever taken classes from another instructor, Wade. You know, Wade's pretty popular, and he and I were talking about a class on web browsers. And he said when he was talking to people, you know, in his classes, everybody kind of got confused between what's a web browser and what's a search engine. And so he said, rather than doing a class on specifically on a specific browser like Chrome or Edge or Safari on a specific device, let's try and put together a class all about web browsers, and therefore the title, all about web browsers. So this is a general purpose class to help you understand what a web browser is and what it does and why there are so many of them out there, and maybe which one might be best for you to choose, because they all do a good job at what they want to do. So we'll kind of help you understand that a little bit. I'm recording the class and let me go through some introductory slides and think about some questions you have, some browsers. I'm going to use a very, very old, outdated piece of technology called a pen and a piece of paper to write down questions when I have them. Okay, so yes, you can use out-of-date technology. At least it's not a quill pen. I don't have to dip it in the inkwell, you know, but I do collect some calligraphy. It's kind of interesting. Okay. Right. So let me share a few slides here. Think about your questions. We're going to talk about all about web browsers. This is me. I'm in Seal Beach, California. This is where I live. I live in an adult over 55 active community. They call them active, and it depends on how active you are. Okay. But I was born in the Midwest in Chicago. I went to college out here in the West Coast. I stayed here. I've worked in the technology industry my whole career. Sorry about that. And really like technology. It's kind of a hobby to me as much as anything. We do have a TA from Get Set Up on with us on the call. John is on our call. So if you're having any technical difficulties or or questions about the class, and John's going to help make sure, monitor questions in chat for me. And what I hope to do is make technology a little bit easier to understand. So for those of you that have been with Get Set Up and taken classes before, though you're familiar, we learn from each other. It helps to see you a little bit because I can see you wave or something like that, but it's not a requirement to be on camera. You can request a recording after class, email help@getsetup.io. If you're joining by live stream, and I believe we are live streaming today, join us at getsetup.io, our website, and set up an account. They're free, and register for classes. And by the way, we might mention some products or services or other things like that, but we're not paid to promote any specific products, but we might mention them. Now, if you see my head moving, when you're watching a newscaster on TV, they look at you directly into the camera, but you're going to see me move my head and look from side to side, not ignoring you. I just have a wide screen, and for me to see your photos on Zoom and to see chat and a few other things, I have to look back and forth. So that's why that's happening. Okay, so our agenda for today is we're going to kind of explain, or I'm going to try my best to explain what in the world are web browsers. I don't know how many people, if you ask them on the street, what's a web browser, they could give you a real good answer. I don't know if you remember, like Jay Leno, he would go out to places and he'd ask people like, who was the first president of the United States, and just to see how much people knew about things and stuff. And it's web browsers are not as easy to explain as you might think, because if you tried explaining it to somebody else, it would be a kind of a challenge. So I find explaining things to other people helps me learn as well, which is one of the pleasures I get out of teaching classes. There are a lot of common features across web browsers and the way the internet works. Some of you that were in my cloud class were learning a little bit about the internet, and web browsers take advantage of the internet. We're going to talk about some of the differences between web browsers and why one may be better for you, but not necessarily, because they all pretty much do the same thing. So I want to pause for a second. Who's got some burning web browser questions? Carol, you've got a burning web browser
And
question.
again, I don't know if it's a web browser, but Google Chrome, why do they always say it's so great and it's more safe, stuff like that? That's it.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, it's a popular web browser, right? So, but depends on what kind of computer you use too. So some people use something different. Anybody else have a question about so why Google Chrome? People say it's so great. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Carter, I see your hand.
I'm mixed up on Google and Chrome. I know Google is a search engine, Chrome is a browser, but it just hasn't planted in my mind what the impact of that is. And also, I'd like to learn enough to where I can choose between a browser and I'm on the Apple system. So
makes sense. That's a good question. Good thing to.
Bookmarks too.
Well, I don't know if I'll have time to show you how to use bookmarks, but I'll explain what they are and where you can find them and use them. Okay. But that's one thing we really need from you is if you want another class on how to use a web browser, please let us know in feedback. We'd really appreciate that. Okay, Carol, you've got another question.
And real fast, is it better to put the shortcut on your computer to pop into a web page, or you just put all those little tabbies on your, like, whatever the thingy's called, Google Chrome or?
I think I understand what you mean. The thingy, the tab, that's kind of the button. What do you do with it, right? And
bookmark versus shortcut. That's
gotcha. Okay. And is it Tamara or Tamara? Go ahead and unmute yourself, Tamara.
Yes, good evening. I wanted to know, like, does it make a difference whether you're on an Apple or you're using a Apple product or a Microsoft product in the different types of browsers?
Oh, it does, sort of. Okay. And I'm going to hopefully explain why that might make a difference and why it might not. Okay. But that's a really good question. So there'll be a little quiz on that after class. No, there's not. Oh, don't worry. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? And obviously you're going to think, like, Lisa, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
I'm wondering if there's certain browsers that you use that would cause you to have more ads, and their ability to market to you is stronger if you click on those browsers, because those are the ones I don't want to use.
Yeah, there are. Let's see, let me look at something here that I'm checking out. Yep, okay. Yep, there are some browsers. I didn't plan on showing you that, but there's a good one that's out there, okay? Okay, and Tamara, you got your hand up again.
Yes, one more question. Will this cover what cookies are when you go to use the search engine or a browser? Will you tell us what cookies mean and their significance?
I will explain what cookies are, I hope. I do have it as a topic, so I'm hoping to give you a good answer for that, okay? Okay, we'll cross our fingers and hope that it's good. Okay, these are all good questions, and there are some great ideas here for some things. Unfortunately, I must have been getting a lot of questions from people about this for a long time, because I may have anticipated most of them, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's go through some material and see if we can figure this out, okay? Okay, so let's go through the number one question. What is a web browser? Okay, a web browser, and I'm going to use my little annotation tools I like to draw on the screen here. A web browser is an application. Applications do things for you on your computer. Without applications, your computer is basically a dead piece of technology. It's the applications that make it usable for us. And the web browser has one purpose in life. It displays web pages on whatever you're using. So if you want to open up a web page somewhere that you want to visit, you need to have a web browser application on your device, computer, smartphone, even refrigerators. Some refrigerators have web browsers. The one I have doesn't, but some do. The thing about it is that because it's so common to visit web pages, companies usually include a browser already built in. So that's what causes a lot of confusion, because one is already included with whatever technology you've purchased. So pretty much all computers come with a built-in web browser. It depends on who makes the computer, what they include with it, though. Pretty good so far? Any questions? Okay, next thing we got to figure out. What does a browser do versus a search? Okay. A web browser displays a web page. So when you have this little field and you type in get set up, or you click on it, when you click on a web page address, your computer knows to open up the web browser application in order to show you the web page. Searching the internet is using a particular search website like Google or Bing to search the internet. Okay, Google does a lot of things. They make the Chrome browser, but google.com is also a website that you can use for search. Microsoft makes a lot of things, but they also make the Bing website where you can do searches and use it to search the internet. So searching is when you are looking for something on the internet. browsing is when you are displaying a web page on your device. So browsing, searching, browsing, searching. We usually do them together, so it's easy to mix up. But think about, if you were looking for the keys in your house and where you put them, you would be searching for them. But using your key to open up a door is using the key, right? So you could be searching for a key or you could be using a key, just a different. Okay, Tamara, you have a question?
Yeah, I was trying to break it down in a way that like, is that kind of like saying, if you go to the library, who's the librarian? And the card catalog is the search engine?
Yeah, the card catalog is like the search engine, but it's not the real book itself, is it?
No.
No, the real book is what you pull off the shelf, right?
Okay, but
But you use the card catalog to find the book.
but the librarian would be like the browser.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, the librarian is a resource there, but and to help you find a book, but they do everything. Okay, so but the actual book itself, if you want to get to the book itself and find the book is what you read. The card catalog is where you would search for a book. And librarians do a lot of things. So they could be all kinds of resources too. But if you compare the web page to a book and the card catalog is the search engine, that's probably a good comparison. Because you have to find, until you find the book, you don't see what it is. Until you find the web page, you don't see what it is either, do you? Librarians do a lot of things. Libraries have actually been pretty good during the pandemic. Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's go on to web pages. Hopefully this is something you didn't know about. Okay, so web pages are files of data. The text, the pictures, the videos, whatever is in that web page is a file. And somehow or another, that file has to get from somewhere where it's located on the internet to your computer. And that's what the internet does. However, all web page files are HTML. That stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And HTML is an industry standard. It's a computer industry standard. And there's an organization that actually manages that standard for technology, because if you follow the standards set by the World Wide Web Consortium to design a web page, it will work on any web browser anywhere in the world. So who belongs to the World Wide Web Consortium? Google, Apple, Microsoft, the people you'd kind of expect, Mozilla, Netflix, some governments, over 400 more organizations really belong to it. And they make sure that it is standard across all the world, everywhere in the world. So if somebody's going to build a web browser, it has to follow the standards set by this organization. Somebody came up with a new one. It's kind of like if you're going to build a car that runs on the road, it has to have certain things. It has to have a tail light, a stoplight, it has to have headlights, it has to have bumpers, things like that. There's certain standards that departments of motor vehicles set for what you can use to drive on the road. Well, the W3C, the World Wide Web Consortium, sets standards for web pages and web browsers as well. All web browsers display web pages. They all pretty much do it the same way. It's just that they all want you to use theirs for a reason. We'll talk about that. So that's why it works almost everywhere. And that's what makes it work. It's kind of like if you plug a toaster into an electrical outlet, you can probably take that toaster to a friend's house and plug it in and it'll work. The electrical industry has set standards for plugging, for electrical outlets. Standards really do a lot of things for us. Okay. Oh, now I know what I'm doing. If I swipe up and down on my mouse, that advances the slides. I was trying to figure out why my slides sometimes advance when I touch my mouse, and today I figured it out finally. Okay. The major web browsers. This is the chart that I made up to help you understand who makes what. Chrome, made by Google, comes with Chromebooks and Android devices. However, you can install it on almost anything. Edge is made by Microsoft and comes on Windows 10. Comes built in. Safari, made by Apple and comes on Macs, iPhones, and iPads. They include it. So that's why your device comes right out of the box with a web browser built in, and they provide it because it's useful and they would want you to use that. And then there's there's others out there. There's one called Firefox. It's open source. It's not made by any company. It's done by volunteers that create it. And it doesn't come on anything, but you can install it on anything. Any questions about this? Mercy.
To be honest with you, to be honest with you, reminds me of starting college algebra a little bit. But what I'll do is I'll request the recorded message.
Let me get Mercy's question. She had her hand up. Okay, Carter, and then yeah, but it does. It's got common a lot of things. Go ahead, Mercy.
Okay. I have an Android, but I also have a computer and a laptop that has Edge and Microsoft with Windows 10. So my telephone and my tablet sync to my regular computer. How did that work with each other? Because I keep getting, when I'm using Edge, I keep getting this, like Tamara said, Chrome comes, it's better than this, it's better than that. Do they conflict with each other, or can you have both of them?
You can use as many browsers as you want. You may not want to, though, because I tell you, using one browser across as many of your devices as possible makes life a little bit simpler. But some people want a simpler way of doing it. Other people don't mind. So it just depends on which device. We're going to talk about what might work better for you depending on what you use and how you use devices. But because you're using a device made by Google or that runs Android, it's made by Google, and you use another device that's made by Microsoft, Google and Microsoft are competitors. They're not really going to make a lot of things work together really easily. So guess who gets to solve that problem? You do.
So it goes back to which one is better.
We'll talk about that. Daria, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you.
And then I'll get Cassandra.
What happened to Window Explorer? Who took over Window Explorer? Remember that used to be out?
Let me get Daria first, if you don't mind, Cassandra, and then I'll answer that question. Thank you. Go ahead, Daria.
What is Mozilla? How is Mozilla related to Firefox?
Mozilla is the name of the organization that makes Firefox. So I could have typed in Mozilla here. They are the organization. They are a nonprofit, and they make the Firefox web browser. Okay. And Internet Explorer, Cassandra, when Microsoft, about 3-4 years ago, when Microsoft, 5 years ago, when they introduced Windows 10, they decommissioned Internet Explorer and replaced it with Edge. They just update their technology to be compliant with the new standards of the web. So what Internet Explorer was not going to let them do a lot of things that the World Wide Web Consortium wanted web browsers to do.
So should we get rid of the Internet Explorer if I have them both? That's and I
Internet,
was wondering.
Internet Explorer is probably not secure anymore because
Okay,
it
so take
hasn't
it
been
down.
around for a while. So I would not use it. It's not a very secure web browser anymore.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, let's go on to Carter. Do you have a question?
No, I don't. It was
Okay.
just a comment.
Oh,
It's
go ahead.
it's a little confusing to me, but let's go ahead. I'm not gonna hold up class. It
That's
just
okay.
hasn't
We're
just hasn't sunk in yet.
We're covering a lot of material. It's like learning a new language, como está, habla español. Carol, you got your hand up.
Yes, I do. Are there any other web browsers out there other than what's stated on here?
Yes, there are. There's probably a list of about 15 or 20. But these like Chrome, Edge, Safari, and Firefox probably make up 98% of all the web browsers that people use.
Is Yahoo one?
Okay, thank you.
Is Yahoo one?
I'm sorry, what is Yahoo? Yahoo is a company and a website and a service. They do not make a web browser. Web browsers are software that display websites. Okay, so Yahoo's not a web browser, but it's a service. See, in these companies, I mean, Google, Microsoft, Apple, they make a lot of different stuff, don't they? So it's just that they do happen to make web browsers, which makes life confusing for all of us. Okay. Because web browsers are standard, because of this World Wide Web Consortium, there are a couple of things they all do. They all have a search and address field. They all have tabs. I'm going to show you some of those. They all let you do bookmarks. They all let you save things in what's called reading mode. They all have what's called incognito or private browsing. And they all let you save passwords. They all do that. Doesn't matter which one you use. They will all do that. So why is any one better than the other? It depends on what devices you have, I think, more than anything. So, but how you might do these things in Chrome will look a little different than how you use it in Edge and a little different than how you use it in Safari. Carol, go ahead.
At any point, please tell us how safe is it for Google to save our passwords?
Safety, it is okay. We'll talk a little bit about security on the web, okay? That's a good question. Safety, it's okay. Privacy is another issue, okay? Okay, so all of these, what gets confusing to people is that this field on all web browsers where you type in a website name is now a dual purpose field. It does two things. Okay. And I see Tamara's question. Okay. And well, let me just finish this, Tamara, and I'll get to your question. When you type in a web address like www, or you just type in getsetup.io and you click go, your web browser will take you to that web page. Or you could type in a word like furniture and it will search. Web browsers now include a search, a connection to a search engine as part of the address field. So that field does both things for you. That's what makes it confusing, is that your web browser is built in, connected to a search engine. So Google, who makes Chrome, connects Chrome to Google search. Microsoft, who makes Bing, or they make the Edge browser, they connect it to Bing search. And Apple, which makes Safari, gets paid a lot of money by Google to set up Safari so that when you type in something here, it searches on Google automatically. Okay, Tamara, you have a question.
Yeah, my question was, what do you mean by reading mode?
Oh, well, reading mode is a utility in web browsers that lets you save the web page for reading later. They all have that. You may not have ever seen that. So I'm going to try and, I don't know if I'll have time to show you today, but each web browser has a little tool that lets you do that. Web browsers are tremendously powerful pieces of software. It's like learning Microsoft Word or Excel. Is that there are so many, we just use them for just like a little fraction of their capabilities, but there's so many things they can do, which is why we want to know if you want another, more classes on like how to use a web browser. Let us know in email and in the feedback comments and other things too. Because we spend so much time browsing the web, we ought to know how to make advantage of it, right?
Right.
Go
So,
ahead.
so would you explain incognito and private browsing?
Well, normally when you use a web browser, like this is a picture of my Safari window. And if I type in something to search Google and I click go, Google or some other cookie might know where I'm going on the internet. I might be tracked. So private mode changes it from being something that that is tracking you to something that does not track you. It prevents cookies from working, and it doesn't let anybody on the internet know who you are. All web browsers have that. How you get to that, so a little bit different in every web browser. And that's what's challenging about a class, is that it's different how you do it in Chrome. It's different how you do it in Edge. It's different how you do it in Safari. So they just have different things, but all web browsers track you no matter where you go, because the search engines and the websites install something called a cookie, which we're going to talk about. These little, let me go back. These little tabs, they're like file folders, file tabs. If you open up a file cabinet, you've got file folders with tabs on them. Just makes it easier to find. You can keep lots of tabs open. It doesn't matter. So you can click on one or another and just click between them when you want to switch from one tab to another. I have a tab open here in my web browser. If I click on the plus sign, it opens up a new tab, and I could type in get set up, and it'll take me to Get Set Up's website. Now I have two tabs. If I want to go back to my slides, I just go back here. So it's just an easy way to switch between two different websites. And you can keep tabs open all you want. Okay.
Can I ask you a question? Where it says search Google or type a URL, what is a URL?
A URL is the full, this little thing you see up on top here, where it says, let me highlight that, draw a box around it, where you see this complete, that is the address of a website. Happens to be the address of my slides with Get Set Up, but it's the address of a website. The address of a website like google.com, Microsoft.com, Apple.com, bankofamerica.com, Amazon.com. That's a URL, stands for Uniform Resource Locator.
What browser are you on right now?
Boy, that's a good question. I'm using Google Chrome right now, but I have Safari open in my desktop behind here. So I'm not like most people. I will use several different technologies at once. So, but this is Google Chrome, but it's not, your Chrome may not look exactly like mine. Okay. Carol, go ahead. You got a question?
If you have sometimes I have 10 tabs open, does that slow down me on, getting the web, listening to you or something, having all these tabs open?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. It doesn't, the fact that you have your browser open in the first place is the application, and having different tabs doesn't change your performance usually. Okay, so tabs, that's something all web browsers have. let's take a look at bookmarks. Bookmarks are these things you put in books, right? For those of you that still read books, you remember those, please, right? Okay, well, bookmarks are a way to find the web page quickly so that if you want to come back to it, you can save it. Okay, so there's a star. Chrome and Edge use a star symbol to save and view bookmarks. Like if you look way over to the right here, there is a star that I can use to bookmark this tab if I wanted to. And then if I wanted to view it in the menu on the top of your desktop, I'm only showing my screen here for the slide, but at the top of your desktop, you might have a bookmarks menu and you can see your bookmarks, but you also might have a star that shows up that you can visit. So if I go to get set up and I want to star it, I can just click star and I can add my bookmark, and there's where that add to reading list is located. Okay, so I can add it to the reading list, then I can come back and read it. But if I add it to the bookmark, it says, where do I want to save it? I can put it in my bookmarks bar and I can turn on done and it's there. Now I'm not displaying my bookmarks bar because I didn't want to hide the slide, but since this is a web class, and if I want to show the bookmarks bar, you can see here's the bookmarks bar, and there's my star to find the bookmarks I bookmarked in Chrome. Now, learning your way around a piece of software is like learning ballroom dancing. You're not going to know where your left foot or right foot is. I learned ballroom dancing and it took me a long time to learn the footsteps of all the different dance moves I learned. But give yourself a break, relax, learn a little bit at a time, okay? And you'll start to use it. Now, Safari has a different way of using bookmarks. It uses this little icon called the share icon. And then when you're looking at Safari and your web, you will see a little icon like this that shows when you click on it, you'll find what's called the sidebar that will display your bookmarks. They do the same thing, they just do it a little bit differently. Kind of like you can go 20 miles and get from point A to point B, and you can probably find 3 or 4 different routes that'll take you there. You'll still get there, but it might be a little bit different way. Mobile browsers. Okay. This was a fun, exercise to do because I keep on getting confused by this myself. When you visit a web page on a smartphone, it looks different. So this is the Get Set Up site on a full desktop browser, but this is the Get Set Up site and how it looks on a smartphone. You'll find many websites have a different view, and these are all the web browsers. Okay, Carter, you have a hand up. What's your question?
Yes, on that last slide, you said the share icon, and you had a picture of it on the left.
Yeah.
And I thought what you were saying is where you have your arrow on the right, it's the same thing, but they don't look the same to me.
Yeah, this is just a pointer arrow to point out where you get it. So this share icon is what you would look for in Safari to save a bookmark.
Yes.
Right. But to actually view the bookmark to find it, you would click on this little icon.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for asking.
Do
See how they're
you,
all a little bit different, and that's why it's hard to do a class on all browsers,
do you ever go to the right-hand corner where those 3 dots are?
Yeah. This lets you customize Chrome. Okay. So whenever you see dots.
On my computer, it brings down a list of things, bookmarks and various things.
There's always a couple of ways to get to the same thing. If I can click on the plus button to add a new tab, or I could click on this 3 dots and I can add a new tab. Or I can start my incognito window or do things. So usually what they don't like to clutter up your view of the web page with a lot of commands and controls. And so they do what they think is helping us. They hide them, and so they make it available for you to click on and access those things. But that's more a matter of how you'd use Chrome, and they're in different places in Edge and Safari. Everyone, they all do it. They just have it in different places. Now, this was a little quiz, and I keep on getting it wrong myself now. But one of these is how the website in Chrome. One of these is the website in Safari, and one of these the website in Edge. The website looks the same, doesn't it? Okay, they all have this search bar up on top, and what's different is the navigation on the bottom. Okay, one will have 3 dots. One will have the 3 dots are in the middle. One doesn't have 3 dots at all. And so they all just work a little bit differently. So what helps is becoming familiar with one. It's like I tried to learn salsa, waltz, foxtrot, country, swing. And, I was going to a dance studio that just wanted us to learn all the different ones. But if I had just wanted to learn one dance style, it probably would have been easier for me. Okay. But I enjoyed it a lot. It was fun. So learning one browser can make your life a little bit easier. Now, they all do these things. There's a difference between security and privacy. And this is not a class about security and privacy, but I know there's a lot of questions that sometimes come up. But a secure website has a lock on it. You can actually see in my browser window here, there's a little lock right up here in the upper left. That means that this website is secure. It is encrypted. So anytime I send any information in my web browser to that website or receive anything, it is secure and encrypted, which means nobody can figure out what it is by just picking the message up over the internet. For as soon as it leaves my web browser, it's secure. So most websites are secure now, okay, but there are a few that aren't, but it'll tell you with a lock there if it's secure. And Google ranks websites that are secure higher when you do searches, and Bing does as well. So whenever you're transmitting credit card information or bank account or your social security number, things like that, don't give it out too much, but certain information needs to have your social security number, like financial institutions. If it has a lock, it's secure. It's secure, and nobody can figure out what it is. So that's websites. That's a standard for websites. And usually it has an S in the HTTP, but more often you will see in your web browser a lock, just like this one shows. If I go to get set up, it's got a lock, a little lock there. Just that's to let you know it's secure. Cookies are different. Cookies have to do with tracking. So a lot of websites will say, some will, some won't, depending on where you're located. They'll say, we want you to accept cookies. And a cookie is just a set of numbers and letters that helps you identify your web browser. So when you come back to that website, it knows who you are. Like if you've had Amazon and it logs you in automatically, or get set up and it logs you in automatically, it's because it read your cookie and it knows, hey, that's Bob, okay? And then it doesn't contain any personal information, but it is used mostly on the web for, other than login, it's used for advertising so that people track what websites you've gone to. Advertisers do that. Diane, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I did. I have a burning question, and I wanted to make sure it got answered. When I go to do shopping on the internet, every time I go to use my credit card, and I choose that I'm going to pay by credit card, it automatically fills in my credit card information, including my credit card number. The only thing that I have to input separately is my security code, which is what is happening with that? I mean, no matter whose website I'm on, they're able to fill in my credit card information.
Well, it depends on which, again, it depends on which browser you use.
All Google Chrome.
Okay, so Google has a pre-fill feature that will pre-fill information into a website from what is stored on your computer. So the credit card information is stored on, what it's pre-filling is stored in your computer in the Google Chrome application on file on your computer. And when you go to enter credit card, Google Chrome recognizes, oh, this is a field that wants credit card information. We're going to pre-fill it for you, except for the security code. So that's in the browser that's doing that, not on the websites. And that's how they do it. Browsers, they're trying to make life easy for you, right? By saying we can pre-fill your credit card, we can pre-fill your address, and it's secure, it's encrypted, but it's just a utility that's included in the browser called pre-fill.
So how do you stop from pre-filling?
I'd have to look that up. That's more like a privacy, and security issue as opposed to, understanding a little bit. But yeah, you could probably do a Google search on how do I keep Google from pre-filling credit card information and probably find some answers from google.com on that. Jocelyn, did you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. I think that's also called autofill.
It could be, yeah.
And it's a parameter that you can turn off so that whatever system you're using will not autofill these fields, which might be a security.
There are ways to change it. Yeah. Every browser's got a different way to do it, but they all give you ways to change it. Tamara, did you have your hand up? And then I'll get Carol.
Yes, I want to know, so cookies are really more like for statistics in a way, collecting data for marketing, is that it?
That's that is like what 98% of cookies are used for, is that they want to, the web is free for a reason. The web is free because we let people track what we do, and we let them run ads that target people. So if you visited a lot of travel websites, a lot of travel ads. And so they track they track where you go and what you do. And they display ads based on that. Go ahead, Carol, unmute yourself.
Just like what the ladies were saying, like I set up some kind of autofill on my cell phone where I told my name and all that. But I just want to make sure this pre-fill thingy that Google Chrome does, I didn't authorize that. They just do it.
Well, you kind of did authorize it. When you downloaded Chrome,
okay,
and you read the terms and conditions for using Chrome, right? Which everybody does, right? And said you can use Chrome for free. And by the way, we're going to do all these things for you, right? Yeah. And so, yes, but you can turn those things off, autofill, pre-fill, but you have to figure out how to do it, right? Automatically, they will do it for you. They will set it up and to work in a certain way. Aren't web browsers fun? Isn't browsing the web a lot of fun? We take advantage of it. So here's the what works on what chart. Okay, boy, Chrome works on almost everything. Okay, Google's in the business of making money from the web, and so you would expect them to make a lot of money if you could use the Chrome browser. When you use the Chrome browser, you may not have noticed this, but there is a little picture of me in the upper right-hand corner. Whenever you use the Chrome browser, you are automatically logged into your Google account. Whenever you see your profile up there, Google not only knows that it's you, that you're using a web browser, they know it's you using a web browser. So they automatically log you into the account. Google can give you Chrome for free because they make so much money on advertising, because they track all of the activity you do on the web. Microsoft makes the Edge browser, and they have a search engine called Bing, and they track your activity, but they don't work on Chromebooks. So if you don't have a Chromebook, it's not a big deal, but you can use Edge on Macs, on iPhones, on Android. It works on all of them. Safari does not work on Windows 10, does not work on Android, and it doesn't work on Chromebooks. Safari only works on Apple products, but it does a lot of things extra for Apple users on Apple products that they like using it. So if you're looking at a web page on your phone and you come home and you walk into your desk and you sit down at your desk and you open up your Mac, your phone communicates with your Mac and says, oh, you were looking at this web page recently. Okay, so they do some things, and Firefox works on everything as well, and it's not made or owned by any company. Some people like to use it because of that. Okay, so they will all do what you need to do on the web, but if you're doing things and saying, I'd like to save my bookmarks, because if I save a bookmark on my Android phone, I want to be able to see it on my Windows 10 desktop. Using two different browsers doesn't really give you a way to do that very well. Using the same browser on different devices helps you synchronize things like bookmarks and passwords and autofill features, okay? So that for choosing, and this is just a suggestion, it's not anything. So if you want to synchronize information like your bookmarks, your reading lists, your passwords, autofill, using the same browser across everything you own tends to make more sense, okay? Safari is great for people that have all Apple products, but you can't use it on Windows, you can't use it on Android, okay? But Apple does it that way because Apple says typically people buy an iPhone for the first Apple product they get. But if they're using a Windows 10 computer, they're kind of scratching their head. What do I do now? I can't get Safari on Windows. Well, Apple would love it if your next computer was a Mac and not a Windows computer. So these are companies that are in business to make a profit. If you have an iPhone, an iPad, and Windows 10, and you use your desktop a lot, Chrome or Edge probably make sense because you can use them on all three devices. If you have an Android and Windows 10, I'd say Chrome or Edge, depending on which one you prefer. And an Android and a Mac, probably the best thing for Chrome. See, the Android kind of pushes you towards Chrome. And when you have Apple and Windows products, you're going to be looking at Chrome or Edge. They all perform about the same. They all have the same features. It's just that everything's a little bit different location. So why not make it easier on yourself and use something that gives you things in the same location? I think it makes sense. Carter, do you have a question or a comment?
And it's Chrome that has the wide variety of suites and products, Google products.
Well, Google will tell you, we prefer you use Chrome when you're using Google apps like Google Drive or Google Gmail or other things, but all of those will work with either Safari or Edge as well, or Firefox.
Okay.
They will all work, right? So it's not a function of will they work or not. It's a matter of Google would love you to use as much from Google as possible so they can keep track of what you're doing as much as possible. Because they want to know what you're up to so they can run the right types of ads to you. You have a Gmail account, Carter?
Yes.
Okay. Well, did you read the terms and conditions of your Gmail account before you signed up the contract?
No.
No. Okay. Well, just so you know, Google scans and reads all your email. They do that. It's free. Gmail's free. And one of the things you gave up in exchange for free was privacy. So Google knows what you're writing messages about to people and what you're, now they say they don't disclose anything in your email to anybody, but they're scanning for things like house, furniture, car, all of those words that help them understand, oh, you're looking for these types of things, and they can run ads.
Got a question.
Yeah, Randy.
So if I'm like say using for example, a certain product, say like with regard to Mac, I'm using the Safari, and say I went and downloaded Chrome and installed it, would it automatically replace the Safari browser, or would I have both browsers then, or how does that work?
That's a great question. You will add that browser to your computer or smartphone, but it will not necessarily change which one you use automatically. Okay, that has to be done in the settings of your device, depending on what device you use. But you will have both Safari and Chrome. I have Safari, Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and one other one on my computer, I think. So they're all there. Okay, and I can open up any one I want to. But if I click on a link in an email, my computer is set up to open up on my Apple is set up to open it up the website using Safari, and my Windows computer is set up to open up the website using Edge. But I can open up Chrome, like I have Chrome open right now for doing this presentation, and I can I can use Chrome for anything as well. You can have both of them open at the same time if you want to go crazy, but a web browser's job is to open up a web page and display that web page to you, no matter what web page you're visiting. So if we want to visit something, if I want to do a search, or if I want to say auto repair near me, it'll bring up the same. Now this is using Google search because I'm in Chrome. If I used Edge, it would use Bing. If I use Safari, but when I click on a page here, it'll open it up in the browser. But if I get an email with a link, like, it'll open up the web browser that's set to my default browser on my computer.
Okay.
But you can have them all there. Georgianne, you have a question?
Well, I just find it hard. I've got all Mac products now, and but I do like to use Google Docs, Google Sheets, or Gmail. Now I have to click, I almost have to go to Chrome and click. I can't just download the app symbol, like.
Right. When you go to Google Chrome, and you are in your Chrome account, you will you can click on it. Shows the Google apps in Chrome, but Safari doesn't show the Google apps in Chrome, but you can get to them. It's just not quite. So if you're primarily a Google user, and you use a lot of the Google apps and services, then it makes sense to stick with Chrome. So Apple will let you download and install Chrome on iPads, iPhones, and Macs. So it's not a problem to do it.
Bob,
You have your hand up.
Yes, did I hear you correctly? Did you say that if you have Gmail, they read your email?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They scan it, yeah, to learn about you for advertising. Right.
No, I mean like they read the contents or just where you've gone?
They read the content too.
Oh my
Yeah, yeah.
That's Google that's doing that.
Well, they all do it. Right? Any free service you get is free for a reason, right? It's not, there's nothing really free in the world, right? There's a price you
Yeah.
pay. Yeah, yeah. So, but they say they don't disclose what it is. They don't share it with anybody else. But you know, your email stored with Google, you're asking them to be responsible for it, right? And so, but as part of giving you a free email service, they said, hey, we're going to scan your email to find information and keywords that might help us deliver the right kinds of ads to you.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's
So
the
what
price,
you-
it's the price of free, you know? It's the price of free. So how did we do today? Did we learn something new about web browsers? Okay.
I did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that I didn't know before. I know now.
You know now.
Right.
Yes, yes,
You have to watch your language, so in case they read it, then
yes.
That's
And I'm
right.
going to be more aware of what I send through Gmail from now on.
You know,
Yes.
there's always text messaging and there's always
Yeah.
some things are more secure than others, right? So if you're
Yes.
planning on living a spy life or something, you know, plan, careful how you plan things, right?
Mm.
So we had a good time today, I think, didn't we? Learning about technology. I think it's a little more understandable and
Yeah.
fun when technology gets explained.
Oh, yeah.
Let us know. I think Chrome is used by more people than the other web browser, by the way. So it's just because Google kind of took over that business. You know, but if you want a class on web browsers, let us know how to use, if you want to see something on how to use Chrome and how to use things like tabs and reading lists and autofill and stuff like that. Let us know about that. You know, I'd recommend you look into the services like OneDrive, Google Drive, and iCloud. I do a couple of classes, how to buy your next PC. Some of you were in a morning class on understanding the cloud. I do like to show people how to use technology, but I also like to explain the concepts. I think the concepts are harder, but once you understand the concepts, I think the other stuff starts to make more sense. At least it does for me, and I hope for you too. So thank you for coming today. Okay, thank you all. And any questions before we wrap up?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very informative.
Very much.
Very informative.
Thank
Is
you
there-
all. Thanks for
is there-
coming.
is there a
Hey,
class?
Bob.
Hello?
Bob, can you hear me?
Yeah. Who's that?
This
Carter?
is Carol. Carol.
Okay.
Yes, okay, now I see where it says here, your next class will be on how to buy your next PC.
Excuse me. Excuse me, not my next class, but coming up soon. We haven't actually done that one for a little while.
Okay.
If you'd like to see that one, put it in the comments that you'd like to see that.
Okay.
But I used to do it more often, and then enrollment, dropped, and we got, but then we can always do it again if people request it.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a class on peripherals, like what kind of microphones to use?
I was on it.
I do a class on home office essentials. I do talk a little bit about webcams and microphones, not printers, but things that are for using in a home office, and some places to get some recommendations for technology on home offices too.
Yeah, because my speakers just went kaplooey and I needed to get new ones, so I didn't know which one to try.
Yeah. A website I'd recommend. I use it a lot. There are others out there, but I use a website for product recommendations called Wirecutter.
Wirecutter, okay.
They're owned by the New York Times, but they're free to use. I'll put them in chat
Okay.
as well, real quick. Okay, but I go by their recommendations a lot, not all the time, but usually. And you can just look up speakers and see what they say. Okay.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you all. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bob.
See you later. Good seeing some of you again. Take care. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye-bye.